The 1970s were overflowing with soul power, but not every great band became a household name. Black Heat brought the funk with fire, while the Dramatics gave us harmonies that cut deep, and Chocolate Milk poured out grooves as smooth as their name. These are 12 underrated 70s R&B soul bands you might have forgotten, but shouldn't. Number 12, Black Ivory, the Young Kings of Harlem Soul. Formed in Harlem in 1969, Black Ivory brought silky harmonies and youthful charm into the 1970s R&B scene. Signed to Today Records, their breakout hit Don't Turn Around in 1971 put them on the map. Led by the angelic falsetto of Leroy Burgess, here's the twist. Burgess was only a teenager when the band scored their hits, giving them a fresh, emotional edge that resonated with young fans. They didn't have the powerhouse machine of Motown behind them, but their raw sincerity made up for it. Picture it: a smoky club in New York, the lights dim, and Black Ivory's harmonies floating through the air. Pure young love captured in song. Though they never hit superstardom, Black Ivory paved the way for the Quiet Storm movement, influencing later acts in R&B's smoother side. Number 11, Creative Source, the Funky Covers Crew. This Los Angeles-based group came together in the early 70s under producer Michael Stokes. Their specialty? Taking familiar songs and giving them an unmistakable R&B twist. Their biggest claim to fame came with their 1973 version of Bill Withers' Who Is He and What Is He to You?
One man, but not enough for two.
A moody, groove-heavy reimagining that became a cult classic. The interesting twist is how their covers often outshine the originals on the dance floor. DJs spun Creative Source records because they carried that raw funk energy club goers craved. Close your eyes and imagine stepping into a roller rink in 1974. The mirror ball spins, wheels hit the floor, and Creative Source's grooves make everyone sway in sync. Though their run was short-lived, Creative Source proved that interpretation can be as powerful as invention, leaving a permanent mark on soul DJs and collectives. Number 10, the Stairsteps, Chicago's lost family legacy.
Ooh, child, things get brighter.
You might remember them as the first family of soul before the Jackson 5 stole the spotlight.
Darling, ooh, my darling.
The Stairsteps, led by Clarence Burke Jr., delivered lush harmonies and tender ballads that defined Chicago soul in the early 70s. Their classic, Oh Child, remains their biggest hit. But many forget the band evolved into the Invisible Man's Band later in the decade, flirting with funk and disco. Here's a fun detail. George Harrison of the Beatles was a fan and even played guitar on one of their tracks during their Buddha Records years. Hearing Oh Child on a summer night in 1970 felt like a prayer for hope, one that's still sung at graduations and rallies today.
Foxy faces breaking my heart.
While the Jacksons became global superstars, the Stairsteps left behind a quieter but equally soulful legacy. Number 9, Mandrill, the fusion pioneers. Mandrill was a band ahead of their time. Formed in Brooklyn by the Wilson brothers, they blended soul, funk, jazz, Latin, and even African rhythms into a sound unlike anyone else in the 70s. Their 1973 hit Fence Walk turned into a funk anthem, but beyond the charts, Mandrill became a sampler's paradise. Hip-hop producers from Public Enemy to Kanye West later dug deep into Mandrill's catalog. The conflict? Their eclectic style made them hard to market. Record labels didn't know whether to push them as a funk act, a jazz fusion group, or a psychedelic band. Still, picture a sweaty dance floor in Brooklyn as Fence Walk kicks in. The horns blaze, congas thump, and the groove refuses to let you go. Mandrill may not have reached Earth, Wind and Fire's fame, but their genre-bending spirit keeps their influence alive. Number 8, Faith, Hope, and Charity, the disco soul crossover. Originally discovered by producer Van McCoy, the genius behind The Hustle, Faith, Hope, and Charity specialized in sweet harmonies wrapped in danceable grooves. Their 1975 hit To Each His Own showcased their seamless blend of gospel roots and disco rhythms.
I don't know what's right for you, no.
What many forget is that the group was initially a quartet before slimming down to a trio. Internal changes and the challenges of the disco market kept them from breaking through bigger, but they carved out a loyal fan base. Their music embodied that 70s optimism, sunlit afternoons, platform shoes, and the promise that love would find a way. While they didn't stay in the spotlight, their records remained a joyous reminder of how gospel fervor and disco shine could merge into something magical. Number 7, The Dramatics, the Detroit Storytellers. Best known for What You See Is What You Get, 1971, and In the Rain, 1972. The Dramatics were masters of theatrical soul. With Ron Banks's commanding vocals and L.J. Reynolds' emotional delivery, they crafted songs that felt like stage plays set to music.
Once the rain starts falling.
Their backstory? They rose during Motown's dominance, but instead of being swallowed up, they carved their own lane through Stax Records and later ABC. A dramatic twist, literally, is that several lineup changes threatened to derail them, yet each new member added fresh character.
Now we both know that it's wrong.
Listening to In the Rain feels like being transported back to a rainy Detroit street, headlights glowing, heartbreak in the air. Though overshadowed by the Temptations, the Dramatics earned a reputation as one of the most passionate vocal groups of the 70s. With a legacy that continues to influence neo-soul crooners today. Number 6, Slave, the Funk Architects. Hailing from Dayton, Ohio, a hotbed of funk, Slave exploded onto the scene with Slide in 1977. Their deep bass lines, sharp horns, and gritty vocals made them a force in late 70s funk. But here's the conflict. Despite their incredible musicianship, they constantly fought for recognition against heavyweights like Parliament Funkadelic and Ohio Players. Their lead singer, Steve Arrington, would later become a funk legend in his own right. But in the late 70s, it was Slave's raw, streetwise sound that had dance floors packed. Picture a packed basement party in '78, sweat dripping from the ceiling, bodies moving in unison, and Slide, turning the room into pure electricity. Though never household names, Slave laid groundwork that future funk, R&B, and even hip-hop acts would build upon. If these forgotten grooves are bringing back memories, or maybe sparking new ones, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps us keep the soul alive and share these stories with more music lovers. And don't go anywhere. We've still got 6 more underrated gems to uncover, including a group at number 1 that'll surprise you. Number 5, Blue Magic, the Philly Soul Dreamers. Part of the famed Philadelphia soul movement, Blue Magic gave us romantic classics like Sideshow in 1974. Their lush arrangements and Ted Mills' soaring falsetto made them one of the smoothest vocal groups of the decade. Their conflict was timing. Coming up alongside the Stylistics and Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes meant competition was fierce. While they had hits, they often stood in the shadow of their Philly peers. But Sideshow was pure magic, a carnival metaphor for heartbreak that captured audiences with both beauty and melancholy. You can almost see the lights of the Midway flickering as the song plays. Though underrated compared to their contemporaries, Blue Magic's influence can be heard in every slow jam that followed. Number 4, Brick, the Masters of Daz. Atlanta's Brick brought us the genre they coined themselves, Daz, a blend of disco and jazz. Their 1976 hit Daz shot up the charts. A funky horn-driven jam that showed how inventive soul bands could be in the 70s. The conflict? They were pigeonholed as a novelty, when in truth Brick was made up of highly skilled jazz musicians who simply wanted to make people dance. Imagine a sweaty Georgia club, horns blaring, bass thumping, dancers trying to keep up with the relentless groove of Daz. Though they're remembered mainly for one song, Brick embodied the spirit of 70s creativity, fearlessly blending genres and leaving behind grooves that DJs still spin today. Number 3, The Emotions, Harmonies of Heaven. Though later known for their Earth, Wind, and Fire-produced disco classic, Best of My Love, The Emotions actually began as a gospel-rooted soul trio in the early 70s. Their Stax Records years gave us gems like Show Me How and So I Can Love You. These records showcased their church-born harmonies and emotional depth before disco ever entered the picture. The Emotions' conflict was identity. Were they gospel, soul, disco? They were all three, and that versatility sometimes made it hard to pin them down. Still, hearing their harmonies in the early 70s felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. They were a reminder of how the sacred and the secular often blended in soul music. Number 2, Tower of Power, the Horn Kings. From Oakland, California, Tower of Power became synonymous with one thing: horns that could knock you out of your seat. Their 1973 hit What Is Hip was funky, brassy, and unapologetically bold. But outside hardcore funk and R&B circles, many casual fans forget just how prolific Tower of Power was in the 70s.
But it's much too strong.
They backed everyone from Elton John to Santana, quietly shaping the decade's sound. Their challenge was that their instrumental excellence sometimes overshadowed their identity as a standalone band. Picture standing in front of that horn section live in '74. It was like being hit by a wall of sound, thrilling and unforgettable. Though underappreciated in the mainstream, Tower of Power remains a gold standard in funk musicianship. Number 1, The Undisputed Truth, the psychedelic soul visionaries. The Undisputed Truth, Motown's experimental soul band, created by producer Norman Whitfield, known for hits like Smiling Faces Sometimes, 1971.
Smiling faces, smiling.
They combined funk grooves, psychedelic sounds, and socially conscious lyrics. Their conflict was being forever in the shadow of Whitfield's other projects, especially The Temptations. Many of their best songs were essentially test runs for bigger acts. But don't underestimate them. The Undisputed Truth's music was bold, innovative, and politically sharp. Their stage presence, with wild costumes and Afrofuturistic vibes, made them unforgettable to those who saw them live.
Their lies, and I got proof.
Listening to smiling faces sometimes in 1971 was chilling. You could feel the paranoia of the times, wrapped in a hypnotic groove. Today, they're remembered as pioneers of psychedelic soul, and their fingerprints are all over modern funk and hip-hop. From Harlem Harmonies to Oakland Horns, from disco daz to psychedelic soul, these bands remind us that the 70s were deeper than the big names we always hear. This was a decade of fearless creativity and hidden gems. Thanks for joining us on this soul stroll down memory lane. If you enjoyed uncovering these forgotten treasures, hit subscribe to keep the groove alive and never miss our next stroll. And up next, don't miss our video on the forgotten soul hits of 1971. Click it now, and let's keep the rhythm rolling.